Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of the Shigutocast. I'm your host, Beast. Alongside us, as always, is Tobe. And today I have the distinct pleasure of introducing 3 EBR and Shiguto members, some of the best developers on the platform, Set Default 1, Xiayurei, Resonating. Welcome to the Shigutocast, guys. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Hi, my name's Set Default, or Joe. I develop showcases on Roblox.
Nice. Impressive. I love it. Right. Hey, it's Ray here. So I've been developing on the Roblox platform for I think about 12 or 13 years now. And looking forward to keeping that up.
Nice. I'm Resonating, Luis. Been building for about a little bit over 10 years. Yeah.
Oh, sick. So, before we get into the interview, we're gonna go swing by Tobe for some Shiguto news.
Welcome to Shiguto News. Let's take a look at what's going on. Last week, Plutonem became the first official member of the Shiguto car community. This is probably like one of the sickest things anyone's ever done, so big shout out to Pluto. Can't wait to see it in action. In other member news, Eberin put out a new showcase called Summer Serenity. It's set in a small apartment in Osaka and is a study of Japanese architecture and life. We also saw a new game release from Noroi, which was an experimental horror game called Dreamworld. So we'll leave links to those places in the description, and we highly encourage you to check them out. So that's it for now. Back to OperatorBeast.
So, to start some questions off, I'm going to ask you all, we know you guys have been around in the building community for a hot minute, at the least. So how did you guys originally find your way onto the Roblox platform and into the building community in general?
Oh, it's a tough one. So my memories of it really was when I was a kid, I used to play out all the time, and I went over to my friend's house, and he was telling me about this game called Roblox. But the more and more I watched him play it, makes me make my own account. So I remember running back home, it's like, oh, I need to play this game, and then forgot what it was called completely. So I had to run all the way back and get him to write it down what it was called, just so I can play it. And then just with the building community, it was just over time. So it was just playing around really with the settings and seeing what studio was. And then over time, it's like making friends and start joining communities. And over time, it's just developed to what it is now.
Right?
Wait, sorry, give me 1 minute. Literally, my sister is in the normal voice chat, and I have to tell her I'm in the podcast voice chat.
Oh, okay.
Literally, give me like 30 seconds.
Ray's brought like his entire squad into this Discord.
The whole
half
team is
half the people in here are just Ray's friends.
Right, sorry, that's done. Right. I would say first of all, like I didn't actually start off as a builder. I was on like newgrounds.com, the Flash game website. I saw the ad for Roblox, same story as a lot of people.
Yeah.
The thing is that before that, I had been playing around with like Lego Digital Designer, and like maybe like a couple months into playing Roblox, that I kind of had the thought of like building something. I remember distinctly waking up one day, and I was like, oh hey, there's that studio icon on my computer. I'm sure you can do some pretty cool stuff with that.
It's actually funny. Me and you have like the same lore, I guess, same origin story. I was also on Newgrounds. I saw this ad for Roblox, and I've been playing with Legos like pretty much my whole childhood, playing with Lego Digital Designer, some Lego Island 2, if anyone out there knows that. And
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Oh, great game.
like right from the get-go, I was just jumped into building. I was just amazed at how quickly I could transition my ideas into something more or less tangible, and it just went on from there.
Yeah, sick. So we're gonna pivot to the next question. What do you guys think is something that can really push a showcase game to become EBR or Shiguto worthy, so to speak?
Probably most likely, in my opinion, it's the little details that make the story. So a lot of people who mostly send submissions, normally like these big empty boxes or really like repetitive designs on the wall. But to me, what makes a EBR showcase stand out is trying to tell a story between the models and the props you use in the house.
Yeah.
Gives it more of like that immersive feeling.
Yeah, I really agree with the point of like telling a story. I feel that the most important concepts behind like any sort of creative project are the passion and originality. Like for me, I feel like you don't need to model like every brick in a wall. Like you don't need 10 million parts or like 10 million meshes. I think that the most important thing is that you try to communicate something about yourself when you make a project. You don't want to make something and just have it seem like, oh, you copied this picture that was online. Like, oh, you did this thing because other people have done that thing. You really want to make something and make it your own.
Yeah.
Something that seems like it's not necessary, like, it won't be perfectly unique probably, because like other people build Cyberpunk, all three of us build Cyberpunk. You want to build things in a way that communicates what you want to show in that medium. Like you want to show your style and something that you think is important to you. And in my opinion, like that's the most inspiring part of a showcase, when you can really tell what distinguishes that person. That is probably what I would look in terms of both EBR and Shiguto entries.
I would say that it kind of varies between the two groups. I think if I'm approaching an EBR entry, I'm going to look at it differently than a Shiguto entry. For example, in EBR, the thing I look for most in entries is originality, consistency. I think that's very important. It's great that you brought that up. It's obviously very hard to be original these days, at least 100% original. Everything is derivative, but if there's something in there that lets me know that you made that and you took a piece of your soul and put it in there, that's what really speaks to me, and it really shows in your work. So for as far as Shiguto entries, Cyberpunk I feel like is one of those genres where it's really easy to look at a picture and be like, all right, so we've got pipes, wires, and neon lights. But I think it would help to read into the cyberpunk genre a little bit more. Just gather what it's about, tell a story with it. It's very cyberpunk is one of those end of the line capitalism dystopian societies, and it's a lot more than just pretty neon. And when I'm judging a Shiguto entry, I look for something with a little bit more substance, something deeper.
Yeah, something.
I totally agree with that. A lot of people look at cyberpunk as just being an aesthetic thing. People got to remember, like, cyberpunk has its origins in literature too. Literature doesn't have pictures. Like, there's so much more to cyberpunk in in terms of like philosophy and concepts than just freaking Japan, like neon lights, kanji letters. Like, there's a lot more to it than that, and I hope people can really like look into the genre more before trying to build a cyberpunk showcase, just to show that they actually kind of like get what it's about.
Yeah. I actually think it's pretty interesting that you guys brought up literature. Like, have you ever read anything or watched something that really, really inspired you to make a build?
In terms of pop culture and stuff like that with movies, big inspiration for me has to be from like the Blade Runner movies, for example, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think like what I've been watching recently. Tales of the Loop. That's another TV show that's running at the moment on Amazon. Westworld as well. It's another one. It's to me, I love the architecture and the set building that they have in movies that really inspire me to build.
Mm-hmm.
You do a lot of Ghibli stuff too.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say Studio Ghibli's a big one for you, Joe.
yeah. It's I don't know what it is with the movies. I just have a connection to it.
Yeah, they put out good stuff.
Okay, first of all, I gotta say that I cannot watch a single like. I spend more time
so much
looking
fun.
at movies than I do watching them, which is amazing. As for
Yeah.
like direct inspiration, I've already like built a showcase based on the Monogatari anime series, which I think is one of the most visually creative anime like possibly ever made. And I guess a little bit of that finds itself in some of my other projects, but nothing quite as direct as like the actual like showcase I made, Namashiro Park, that was actually based on the anime. But I would say like overall I get my inspiration from a wide variety of mediums. I don't even necessarily like look at inspiration pictures while I'm making things. It's more like I just try to absorb a lot of things that I end up seeing.
Yeah,
I don't try to refer to any one particular thing too much, but I just try to like build like sort of a visual library of inspirations that I can just passively use. So yeah, that's probably about it.
I kind of draw inspiration from a number of sources. I'm really big into architecture, so I'll have some brutalist elements whenever I do decide to build Cyberpunk. From anime, there's Akira, Serial Experiments Lane, Psychopaths, stuff like that. Films, Blade Runner being the main one, and video games, Final Fantasy VII. Just kind of, there's a big soup amalgamation of little cues from each of these individual series that kind of make up my style.
In studio, do you guys think that there are any plugins that are overlooked or underrated when it comes to their usefulness for building? I know you guys are probably going to shout out like SBS, but
Yep.
yeah, go ahead.
It's the official EBR plug.
Is a lifesaver for any builder that's out there who doesn't use it. I recommend it a lot.
What do you guys say to people who use F3X? Like, what's your official statement to those guys?
Guilty.
Guilty?
Banned.
Each person has whatever works for them, and it's okay to be wrong sometimes.
It's okay.
Let's try to actually like, okay, first of all, I've never used F3X. I've seen people use F3X. It looks alright. It seems like you can do everything that you need to do using F3X. I like SBS because first of all, it looks better in my opinion. I like the interface better. It's got nice hotkeys. I'm like not even paid to advertise this. I just like SBS. It's pretty similar to CMD UTL too. So it's similar to what a lot of old timers are used to.
So yeah, to jump back to the original question, what do you think? Like, are there any plugins that you think are overlooked or underrated? Other than SBS.
Oh, I got to think about that one.
Because I remember you showed me some that one time that we built, Joe, but I can't remember them off the top of my head.
I've noticed a lot of people are using Archimedes at the moment, but I feel like that's getting more mainstream now because it was quite
That's
quiet.
getting a lot of traction.
I'm trying to think. A lot. There's a plugin I use that not many people use called Resize. So what it is basically is any models that can't be resized smaller from what Roblox set, you can make it smaller, and it's alright. Like the interface wise, but I feel like it needs a bit of an update compared to what other things are using.
The one plugin that I always refer to when it comes to underrated plugins is actually Fractality's pipes plugin. I know a lot of people like to use Archimedes for their pipes, but I just find that it's a bit of a better workflow when you use Fractality's pipes plugin. He doesn't really talk about it at all, so I guess people don't know about it. It works really well in the way that you can kind of just what you do is you take like a bunch of spheres, you put them in the order that you want the pipe to show up. You select all of them and then just hit the plugin. It'll literally create a pipe that follows the path of the parts you selected. And I guess another one, I don't know how many people use this one. It might be more popular than I think, but you should definitely use the adjust sun / adjust moon plugin to just click on the sky and set where your sun position is. I assume that a lot of people do that, but if anyone's still using the lighting tab to change the sun position, like stop doing that. Like there's no reason to be doing that.
I'm a simple guy. I've got a handful of plugins. I'm pretty sure they're widely used everywhere. I'll just name them off. SBS for one, and pretty much my main tools are just the material flip, reflect, stuff like that, just to make things easier. And Fractality's pipes is, again, like Ray said, one of the most useful ones that I have.
I wanted to ask you, Ray. I hear that you're behind the infamous Scorpion tank on Roblox. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I can't even like leave that in the past. It always comes back to me. Back in 2008, along with Defaltio and Yellow Pig, I made Halo models. Like the earliest Halo models on the Roblox catalog, I made the freaking Scarab tank. I made 4 different versions of the Scarab tank, all of which got copied probably over 100,000 times now. If any of you were here in 2008, you probably would have seen them. It still pains me that my most known model to this day is something I built when I was like 10 years old. But yeah, the Halo Scarab tank, that was me.
Yeah.
It did get me the what is it called? The golden antlers. The golden antlers you get when your model's in the top 100 catalog for over 6 months. It did get me the golden antlers, so there's that.
Yeah. You got a little trophy. You got a little trophy. Speaking of trophies, Joe, Bloxy, question mark? Can you
Go
tell
on.
us a little bit about that?
What do you mean by that?
The Bloxy you own, Joe. One that you won, where you stomped the competition brutally.
Oh god, I remember that day like it was yesterday. It's probably about 2 years ago. This, and I remember I went out, and I came back and I checked my phone. I was like, "Oh god, it's the Bloxies. I need to watch it." I remember sitting there and I was in a voice chat on Discord with one of my friends, and we was watching the categories go by, and then the next one was the favorite showcase. And I remember watching all the nominees go up, and I was just sitting there. And I was like, "I'm not going to win this. I'm not going to win this." And then I saw Apartment 23 show up, and I was like, "Yeah!" like that, screamed,
Yeah. Hell
and
yeah.
the rest is history.
Yeah. Rose, I don't know you too well personally, so can you tell me a bit about some of your accomplishments on the platform, like all that kind of stuff?
Surprisingly, I'm kind of low key. You know, I kind of just stick to myself. I build what I want. I have a few Bloxies actually. I think I have maybe 1 or 2. I don't know why. Yeah, anyone that is responsible for the Bloxies would like to let me know why I have one, that'd be great. But you know, I appreciate the thought.
Yeah. Holy cow! I didn't know.
Yeah. They just
Like I was nominated once in 2013. I didn't win for that, but I won several years later, or didn't win. I believe actually one of the winning entries for, I think it was a best video, used a place that I worked on, and we were awarded that just as we weren't credited or whatever. But yeah,
I got you.
I think you contributed to one of the egg hunts, right?
yes, 2017.
Your icon.
The 2017 egg hunt. What'd you do for that?
Just build.
Oh, okay.
Wait, were all of you guys part of the Stratosphere settlement build originally?
I was
No,
not
it's
around.
past my time now.
Past my time.
Oh man, I guess I'm the only one. Yeah, I built a tiny little boat in the EBR Stratosphere settlement. The only group project we finished to date. That also showed up in the hidden map of the 2017 egg hunt. But that's about all I did.
All right. So we're gonna take a quick break for our sponsor, and when we come back, we'll go ahead and transition over to the questions that you guys asked us last week on our Reddit thread at r/Shiguto. I'd like to take the time to thank our sponsor, Amory International. Have you ever felt as though you aren't living to your full potential? That there is so much more you could achieve in life? Look no further than the Neurogenis series by Amory International. With our patented synaptic feedback implant and neuron linkage system, you could be the best version of yourself. No longer will you be held back by mere biology. Feel sad? Immediately receive a dopamine injection directly into your hypothalamus to disperse it throughout your brain. Thanks to Amory International's Neurogenis series, I never have to go another day worrying about my productivity. If you would like to get a Neurogenis system for yourself, Head on down to your nearest Amory International provider and apply for the program. Remember to use the referral code Shigutocast to get 7% off. Thank you, Amory International, for sponsoring this episode of the Shigutocast. Amory International. Transcendence awaits. Thank you for sponsoring this episode of the Shigutocast. It's pretty awesome, pretty sick, pretty dope. Transitioning over to the Reddit questions. What was the reason behind why you wanted to start developing? This question comes from steampulse_dev.
Generally, it was just I like building with my friends. So my friends, this is back in like 2011. We all used to build modern houses. So as like a little group, we used to like make little competitions. Who could make the best house? I think it was just more of just like trial and error and just learning, and then that just became a passion of mine.
For me, building on Roblox isn't the only thing that I do. I also do like traditional and digital art. I kind of see like even like Blender modeling and Roblox modeling as another form of expression, like a three-dimensional form of expression, which I've grown to really like. I like the idea of like really realizing an object in 3 dimensions. It's definitely a different thought process than like designing something on paper. I tend to actually do sketches before I model anything. It helps me conceptualize it a little bit better. If we're really talking about like in the early days, what got me building in Roblox, I kind of jumped between a bunch of different, I guess you could say, like subcultures of building. When I was a lot younger, like, you know, back in the really, really old days, I did the Halo stuff because I knew some other people that were doing the Halo stuff. After that, I did like steampunk for a little while. I did sailing ships. The guy that got me into that was actually Jardisil. He's like one of the really old EBR members. That's not really on the platform anymore. We still talk sometimes, but they taught me pretty much like everything I knew about building back then. It was really nice to kind of like have influences from other people to like keep me inspired. But yeah, I would basically say like similar to Joe, kind of like bounced off of what my friends were doing, and that kind of inspired me to keep going until I settled on like my own thing.
For me, like I said before, I've kind of been building in a sense before I even joined Roblox with Lego digital designer and whatnot. So building on Roblox just kind of was an obvious choice for me. I also dabbled. I used to actually started off doing sci-fi, moved on to I believe Japanese inspired just scenery, and a little bit here and there within the little building communities, and I've kind of again I've settled where I am now. I kind of just do my own thing. I'm actually working on a Western inspired place, which I haven't done before, so I'm excited to finally finish that.
Yeah, hell yeah.
You think we'll ever finish one of our group projects?
We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see, TM. Soon, TM.
Soon. 2
Soon,
weeks.
trademark. 2 weeks.
2
2 weeks time. So this question comes from LemonX19. Is developing your full-time occupation? If so, what do the people in your life think of your career decision? If not, what other jobs do you do? And do you plan on ever making game design a full-time job?
It's more of a hobby. I would like to do it as a full-time job, maybe in a game company or some sort of studio. It's just I need to make that step and that jump
Yeah.
to go to university, which I'm too scared to do.
I don't work full time as like a developer. I have worked on stuff like last summer I worked on an accelerator game. In real life, I actually work as a freelance graphic designer, which I also do in my free time because I'm still in university. I would eventually like to get into the entertainment industry in some form. I definitely want to keep working with design going forward. I can't say for sure where that'll end me up. I don't want to do graphic design forever. It's kind of just a thing that I do right now. But I would definitely like to keep doing things, either for like games, movies, or anything like that.
Cool. Yeah. I don't build full time or I don't develop full time. I do commissions every once in a while. I would love to. It's just, it's not something that's in my radar right now.
Alrighty. This question also comes from Liminex19. How do your usernames/pseudonyms and avatar design choices reflect your personality or taste, if there's any connection at all?
With my character, there's literally no reason behind it. I just thought he looked cool.
Yeah, he looks baller.
Flower Man, as I call
Yeah.
him. But with my name as well, it was when I first made my account back in 2009, I actually made my dad make it. So he just came up with Joseph155, which was my original name. But quite recently, at the start of this year, I've changed it back to something that's a bit more pseudonym. So I've changed it to Set Default One, which is something I've been using on other platforms. So it's just more of a linking, really. There's no meaning behind
Yeah.
it.
I get a lot of questions about my name, mostly because I think people don't know how to read it. So I'll just lay it out. I go by Ray as sort of my online pseudonym. I've used it as my artist name. I've used it as my developer name for probably like 10 years now. The Xiaoyu part is actually a pun. There's Xia, the character for like summer in Chinese. And then the phrase Xiaoyu means like falling rain. That's a different Xia than the summer one, but I kind of like substituted the character so it's like summer rain. That's where the Xiaoyu part comes from. So in full, it's like summer rain and then Ray, which is my pseudonym. Uh, so that's how you would explain my username basically. Uh, my avatar, I don't know what to say about my avatar.
Dude,
I literally picked the same stuff off the catalog that I wear in real life. So that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. It's kind of the same. Like, I'm noticing you and I are kind of similar, right? But yeah, I kind of just pick out whatever it is that looks like, something that I wear in real life. I've got the piercing, got the glasses, the username. I used to be really big into music. Yeah, I did music during high school, resonating music, kind of. I don't know how I got that username, by the way, but yeah.
Snipe. Where did
Yeah.
OperatorBeast come from?
Oh, good lord. Okay. Way back in the day, when I was younger, I found this site called Roblox and didn't know what to name myself. I used a random name generator and got Beast Shadow Slasher. And then in 2014, 2015, me and two other buddies, we changed our names to Operator and then our names, so I became Operator Beast. And my avatar is just an old Southern man, much like myself.
Maybe we can get the story behind Toblerone.
Yeah, Tobe.
I
Lay
wish
it
I
on.
had a story. I've gone through so many different usernames, but the one I have right now, I was just trying to get a 4-letter name. I thought it would be kind of neat, so I just cranked out a bunch of combinations, and this one happened to be available.
Well,
It's a
there you go.
pretty scientific approach to figuring out a name, I guess. But yeah, there's no real meaning to it, unfortunately.
It's better than the random name generator you did in like 2010.
Yeah, I guess.
I love messing with Tobe's name. Corn on the Tobe.
Corn on the Tobe. Yeah.
Oh, I do like Toblerone now.
Toblerone.
Toblerone, Toblox, Tobuscus.
Toblox? Oh, Tobuscus, man. That's a blast from the past. Holy cow.
It's infinite possibilities.
Toby
Yeah, infinite effects from said possibilities. Boom, full circle, back to episode 1.
I just got a text from Redwoods. We're too deep.
Oh, God. Just got a text from 3D Dreams. We got to shut the operation down. No, but the third and last question from Liminex19 is which real life city, in your opinion, has the most cyberpunk-ish atmosphere? What factors are most important to you when determining whether a city is more or less cyberpunk themed? Is it rain, urban development, technological advancement, or something else?
So I think the others might agree with me with this one. Hong Kong. One of my favourite movies besides Blade Runner is Ghost in the Shell.
Oh, Ghost in the Shell.
We're talking about the
Continue.
anime here.
Yeah.
But
The movie? Are you kidding me? The movie? Really? I mean, visually it was pretty good, but
The best
Yeah,
part
yeah,
is
I do have a spot for it.
the script was bad, but the visuals were amazing.
yeah, the visuals were amazing. Anyways, continue, Joe.
When you said about urban development and stuff,
Mhm.
it's not all about neon and signs. It's more about cultures mixed together into one. So that's why you see a lot of advertisements in Chinese or Japanese. So to me, what factors into that the most is mostly old buildings that have been either trying to be developed into something that's fitting them with the times. So it's like electronic boards or holograms, but also keeping that old style feeling towards it.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, like Hong Kong. I have family in Hong Kong. I've been there a bunch of times. As Joe said, it's definitely one of the most cyberpunk feeling places. And I mean, if you look at Ghost in the Shell, it was literally based off Hong Kong visually. Just speaking from personal experience, there's nothing quite like, eating noodles late night in front of like a street stall in Hong Kong. It feels just like the scene where Deckard does the exact same thing. Aside from the Hong Kong example, I'd say like Shanghai is most definitely one of the most cyberpunk cities in the world for obvious reasons. There are huge neon billboards, LED billboards like plastered across skyscrapers. It looks amazing in the nighttime. And then, of course, like when we say that something looks like cyberpunk, usually we mean which real life cities is cyberpunk inspired by, which I think is a big difference from like what real life cities are cyberpunk, period.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's looking like a unanimous Hong Kong. I've been there once, and I've got family there. It really is one of those cities where it's just like, wow, this is straight out of a movie set, isn't it? If there were any other city, I guess I'd say very specific alleys in Flushing, Chinatown.
Oh yeah, for sure. Flushing is one of my favorite places in New York.
Yeah. That's actually the question kind of pivots pretty well into a question from Colorado Ravens fan, which is have any of the developers actually been to Japan, China, Korea, etc. before?
I was born in China, so obviously I've been to China. I was born around the Hong Kong area, and I have family in Hong Kong, so I've been to Hong Kong. I've not been to Japan or Korea, but I will say if you can't go somewhere in real life, go on Google Street View. Like it's not the same thing as being there physically, but you can get a lot out of Street View.
Yeah, I've been to Hong Kong once. I have family there. My uncle's an architect that practices there. It's from my dad's side. I'm half Chinese. If you go to Hong Kong, please eat. Street food there is amazing.
Yeah, I've heard. What's your favorite showcase? This question comes from Green Year.
Oh, I like Midnight in Japan. By Hawaii.
Why? Why Shinjin?
Recently admitted to EBR. Congratulations again.
Congrats. Welcome to the club, Hawaii, if you're listening.
All right. My all-time favorite showcases are Anchored Islands by Originated Systemized. There's nothing quite like being on a floating island, seeing more floating islands in the distance, looking down, looking forever down into the clouds. It's a great feeling of like verticality. And I'd say my other favorite showcase is definitely Totem's -3. I think Totem is one of the most passionate developers on Roblox. And I think -3 is a big example of how you can take something generic like an alleyway and put your own twist on it. A lot of people build generic cyberpunk alleyways. It's been getting tiring to see. So, like going back to what I said earlier, I like it when people put their own personal twist on concepts that aren't necessarily unique.
I think probably my favorite showcase on the website right now, not even Cyberpunk, is Times of Change. It's just a big nostalgia bomb, and the way that Finway was able to nail the classic building style with the studs, the glue, if anyone out there remembers that, it's just incredible. I wish he'd finish it.
Finway came back after like 10 years doing the exact same thing he was already doing, which I think is great.
He never left, just jumped straight back into it.
Oh, I remember when Countryside came out. Blew my mind.
That was one of the showcases that actually pushed me to a focus on landscape as opposed to like structural building.
Yeah, I think Aerials Above did a really good job of showing what you can do with nature in Roblox too. I've been kind of picking up a few notes from him. He's even like helped me out on a few of my builds. I don't think anyone in Roblox does quite the same type of thing that Aerials Above does.
Yeah, it's the little like I said about my point about EBR applications. It's the little details I loved. Like he had like little books, and the books had like little stories in them, and it's really inspirational.
This question comes from Speedmaster was taken. I guess his name is Speedmaster, but that was already taken. What's your favorite video game that isn't Roblox?
Oh, I'm loving Persona 5.
Smash Bros. Melee preferably. I'm a Melee guy.
Oh,
I do like Ultimate, but I mean, Melee is the best game ever made. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's just good. It's just good. You can't beat it. You just can't.
If we're talking all time, I think I'd have to say Super Mario Sunshine or Super Mario Galaxy. I think those are the two games that have had a very just a lasting impact on me. And if we're talking right now, unfortunately, I'm sad to report that I'm very into League of Legends.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. I think it was you who said it earlier. Like, it's all right if your opinion's wrong.
Yep, it's all right if I'm wrong. At least one opinion.
Hey, it is what it is, man. It is what it is.
Does anyone have any thoughts on sleeping dogs?
Oh my god, dude. Okay, Sleeping Dogs is one of those games from like my middle school years that I've played 5 or 6 times in full. I go back to Sleeping Dogs every time the thought even comes across. I freaking replay that game front to end. I love Sleeping Dogs.
So this question's for set default. It's from Ilianson. How many hours does it take you to usually make a showcase?
so if I have an idea that comes through my head, I normally take about 5 hours a day, but that's normally stretched between about 2 to 3 weeks. And then the planning's normally around about another 2 to 3 weeks. So you're thinking about a month really for get a showcase completed.
Yeah, there's times where you bust out a showcase in like one day, and I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
It's just motivation and drive. It just comes out of nowhere. Once I've got an idea, I'm locked onto it.
Yeah, sure. Motivation and drive. Is that what you call it?
You definitely do work fast. I think I've noticed that compared to other showcase builders that I follow, it seems like you're just like, oh, here's just, a little something that I put together in my free time, and it'll be like David by Michelangelo or something like that. It'll be like a masterpiece.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is really. It just this happens.
This question comes from L Blocks. Their question is: do you structure your day to get stuff done, or do you just do it whenever you feel like it? Like, what's your routine for building?
I normally use Pinterest. If I got any free time, I just go on Pinterest, look for ideas, and then once I find an idea, I start doing research. So looking at like the architecture, going on Street View, and then creating the buildings itself.
Mm-hmm.
Going off of what Joe said, I think a lot of people kind of undervalue the amount of time that you can spend getting inspiration. Like even if you're not working, you can get inspiration literally anywhere. Like there are a lot of times when I'd be on public transit, and all of a sudden I think of like an idea. I'm like, I can draw this, or I can model it. Like these things just kind of come to you. A lot of time not spent working is actually time spent thinking, and I think that's equally important. As for how I actually structure my work sessions, I absolutely do not. Um, if I set a schedule of like Okay, work on this thing for 4 hours at 2 p.m. Like, my calendar's gonna ring and I'm not even gonna want to do it. Like, just being real. The only times I find I can really work are when I have the drive to work.
Yeah,
So it's very sporadic for me.
this is fun.
I guess I could be a little bit better at time management, but I don't think you can force inspiration. So it's not really a bad thing to just let it come naturally.
Yeah, you can't force art, baby. I think that
You
was said by the great Pinocchio. Go ahead, Rose.
I'm messy. I'll be honest, I'm messy. I kind of build whenever I want. Setting, structuring, things like that, in theory, I think it's a very good thing to do, especially if you want to make a career out of this. It's very good to manage your time effectively. But for me, if I say, all right, let's work on this portion of the build for 4 hours, and then after 4 hours, I've only gotten like, I don't know, maybe like a 20 by 20 stud area done, I'll be like, wow, I really wasted 4 hours of my life doing nothing, huh? But if I kind of jump into it because I want to, I find that no matter how much I get done, I usually end the session satisfied.
Yeah. Okay. This question is actually directed to Tobe and Ray. From Kinjami. Are there any plans on releasing IRL Samuko plushies?
Oh boy. There there are plans for stuff in that direction, but there's quite a few people who need to be consulted or properly recognized for their work, and
Yeah.
although things have been moving quickly in other ways, that's definitely an area we've been slacking in.
Mhm.
So, I think we're about 90% of the way to having a new store go live, but that last 10% can take a long time, so I think everybody just has to bear with us for a while, but I think I can say that we'll be operational to some degree this summer.
Sure, I can say like there are a lot of things that we want to do. It's just a matter of establishing the logistics to make them happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this question comes from the Great Pumpkin 31. What do you believe you will be able to achieve in the future years of Shiguto?
So I've never experienced a community like Shiguto. I would like something that's expanding just from building. So I want like artists or illustrators, clothes designers, all these people and communities mixing in together, sharing ideas and coming up with ideas together.
A lot of people compare us to EBR or RAR. It's an understandable comparison because we do build and we have an application process. But culture-wise, I would say that Shiguro is very different from your
Yeah.
average builder. It's really more of a community of enthusiasts. We have people who do a wide variety of things, and I definitely like to push us in a direction that allows people to have the chance to do more types of things. I don't think we should be locked down to just building showcases and games and stuff like that. Actually, we have quite a lot of plans of different ways that we'd like to expand. I honestly think that we have the potential to do something with our group that just isn't really done on the platform.
It's definitely something that I noticed in my time in Shiguto. I've seen it evolve from like a little cyberpunk showcase group and all the way into what it is now, which I see as um, an artists collective. I'd like to see more groups do that, at least the ones that originate from Roblox, and I'm excited to see what you guys have for the future.
So to wrap things up, if you guys would like to go around the table again and share with us some of the projects you're working on, some things that you're really hyped up and you'd like to share with some people. Maybe you've been waiting to release something and now's the time to do it. Now's the time to shout out to the world, hey, this is happening. So go ahead.
At the moment, I'm working on a couple of group projects with people. I've also got a group at the moment called Dreamless, which I'm going to be working on an RPG game.
Yeah, that's sick.
It's going to be called Como City. So
Oh,
hopefully, I'm trying to like
hey.
flush out something that everyone can play together and interact, and we'll have like a social based.
Yeah, sick.
So I gotta say, first of all, I'm a lot more interested in working on my art and my Blender modeling right now than I am my showcases. Sorry if that disappoints anybody. Of course, I'll be posting everything I'm doing to my Twitter. so you probably won't be missing out on anything. Yeah, I don't have a lot going on Roblox as of the very moment. That's not to say that I don't have plans though. I have been kind of thinking up some idle ideas for future stuff that I can do. I might go back and redo a lot of my previous Hong Kong stuff.
You're focusing on.
Yeah, basically, I'm not planning on leaving the platform anytime soon, obviously, but it's just a matter of like seeing whatever direction that my mind takes me at any given time.
I feel you. Russ?
What I'm working on now, it's a Western showcase. It's really inspired by places like Arizona, certain parts of Texas, just where you see abandoned, just roads, abandoned buildings on the side, not habited anymore. I really like the energy that those places have. I think there is something beautiful in how lonely they are. And I've really been trying to convey that in a way that I feel is best representing that feeling on Roblox. I think I'm maybe like a quarter of the way done. So I'll keep you all posted. If you want to follow me on Twitter, that's where I'll be posting things.
Yeah, drop your Twitter ads, whatever you want. Go ahead. Go do it now. What's poppin'? Throw up.
So it's at set default RBLX.
Same as my username, just at Xiayurei. That's XIAYUREI.
You can find me on Twitter at Resonatings. It's my username with an S on the end. Couldn't get the name on there.
Wow, couldn't snipe that one. You got 2 in a row on the block, so.
Yeah, man. Luck's starting to run out.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that's all the time we have. Again, thank you guys so much for coming on the Shigutocast, and thank you all for listening to the second episode of the Shigutocast. Have a good one.